While I was in Rome, I had a great conversation with Patrick Friddle. Patrick is a numerary of Opus Dei and is currently living at Cava Bianca and studying at Santa Croce. I think you'll really enjoy this conversation as I did. We talked about everything from his time growing up in the Washington, D.C. area, his time at the Heights School in Maryland, and his time at UD. And now living in Rome, he has a whole nother story to tell. So let's get into it. Welcome, everybody. I'm here with Patrick Friddle.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time here.
Of course, my pleasure.
And we are at Villa Tevere, the headquarters of Opus Dei. And Patrick is a numerary of Opus Dei. And we're going to talk a little bit about his time here in Rome. He's also a student at Santa Croce. So Patrick, tell us a little bit about what it means to you to be here at Villa Tevere, spending time. You're doing tours here. It's been really probably a big change in your life from growing up in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, certainly. I'd say, first of all, living in Rome is quite special for 1,000 reasons, but I'd say in particular, given being a member of Opus Dei in this wonderful family, is to be so close to the Father. That it becomes carnal, it becomes fleshy. The reality of the affection that we live in the work, that you can see on display, not only with the amazing people from all around the world, from Nigeria, from Vietnam, from Australia, from all over the world. You meet amazing people, and it's all the same spirit.
Yeah.
So that has been the universality of the work here in Rome is on display for everyone to see. And then I'd say being close to the Holy Father is unique.
Yeah.
Many people come to experience it in small doses, for a Holy Week, for a pilgrimage. Yeah. And every time that they come, they remind me of the beauty of being here in Rome to experience events like St. Peter's Vigil Mass with the Holy Father. This year I wasn't able to get in because the tickets are very difficult to get. But you can attend even smaller events with the Holy Father. During Lent, he has small times of prayer that you can go to the Vatican to attend, or sometimes an occasional surprise vigil for peace inside the Vatican. So, yeah, it's a real full experience. Living the modern world with Pope Leo is it's real. So
that's incredible. Yeah, just. I've only been here for the last 5 days, but
right.
I feel like I've had the chance to really get to know a little bit more of the city and spending time in when I arrived here, it was the afternoon. I hadn't been to Mass, and I walked into St. Peter's, and I said, I'm going to Mass, and they let me right in, the side, past all the quick security, and then I was there, and one Mass after another. It's just a really incredible thing right over the tomb of St. Peter.
Yeah.
And then visiting the Blessed Sacrament Chapel there, and just being struck by the fact that this is the same Lord that's in Texas and in the rest of the world.
It's funny because of all the basilicas that there are in the world, I think St. Peter's is especially, or it's almost when you enter the basilica and you read the inscriptions on the register that go around St. Peter, it's living because it's speaking to the tomb of Peter and saying you, Peter, in the vocative.
Yeah.
It doesn't say Jesus said to Peter, you are the rock upon which, it says you, Peter.
Yeah.
There's funny images of you have the four evangelists inside the apse underneath the dome of St. Peter's, and St. John is pointing to the altar. And it's a living, the building is speaking. The stones are crying out, which I think is a nice fulfillment of the prophecies in the Gospels when Christ is entering Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So Rome is a city of stone that speaks. Rome are the stones that speak.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Very cool. Tell me a little bit about, growing up. How did you first come in contact with Opus Dei? And what has your journey been like to this point?
Sure. So I grew up in a family with two supernumerary parents.
Okay.
I'm blessed to have wonderful parents who loved us very much, and we're both supernumeraries. And even without my knowing it, they gave me wonderful Catholic formation, and the spirit of St. Josemaria and the charism of Opus Dei made its way into that formation, even without my knowing it. To be honest, I didn't know that they were in the work until I think I was until high school.
Wow.
Maybe. That is explicitly be told, oh yeah, my parents are supernumeraries.
Wow.
So, but I really became aware of Opus Dei after attending summer camps in Pennsylvania, leadership camps. And it was there where I first experienced an environment of friendship, faith, fraternity, and all packaged into a single week. It was those summer weeks of leadership camp were a dose of what life could be like. And I left, even as a middle schooler, explicitly thinking like, I want to replicate that week in the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I remember in 8th grade, I once made the interior commitment. I want to be a Tenley man. Where the Tenley's the center there who was organizing the camp. Then I entered high school, and I got involved with the activities of Opus Dei through Tenley. I attended the Heights School, which is a corporate work of Opus Dei.
That's great.
And the Heights, as I'm sure you know, it is an excellent school that I think does education. Every year it seems to be getting better. You know, in the Valley, the Heights really emphasizes, you might say, the poetry and literature and history and fostering an adventurous spirit.
Yeah.
And at the same time, also being play.
Yeah.
Touching creation, going out into the woods, building a stick fort.
Yeah.
Swimming through a river, putting your hands on creation.
Yeah.
So then with those two, going into the middle school, you enter into the liberal arts and the quadrivium and the trivium, where you begin to reflect upon the music and the literature and poetry, and also the creation with the arts of letter and the arts of number. And then in high school, the Heights did an amazing job of bringing that to like a philosophical level, really reflecting on the morality of things and the nature and the science of things. Yeah. I had a great professor at the Heights who was also a supernumerary, Matthew Meehan, who was my thesis director, teaching. Teaching. It was a rhetoric capstone course, basically. And I was struck by his. His integration of education and putting it at the service of the United States of America. How can my education be of service to others? So going through high school, I was a junior in high school when I had just come back from a trip to Peru. I did a 3-week service project to Peru, where I lived the spirit of Opus Dei for 3 full weeks, with living the full plan of life. And that was a real moment where I said, this is a beautiful spirit that is possible to live in my circumstances. Wow. And then that fall of junior year, when I was thinking very seriously about vocation, and in fact, I wanted to be a supernumerary and get married. And in fact, one confirmation I thought I had received was I had found out from the dentist that I had a supernumerary tooth. I thought it was a divine confirmation that God wanted me to get married in Opus Dei. But then I began to reflect more seriously and pray about it, of course, that the call to celibacy was perhaps what God was calling me to. But the one hesitation was family life. Being a celibate, are you really part of a family? Yeah. So then I remember distinctly asking my dad, who's a supernumerary. He was in the military, so he traveled the world. Yes. And I remember I had the preoccupation at the time of like, okay, what is your home? How do you know what's your home, your place of rest? And I remember asking him, Dad, how did you know where home was? And he said, well, to be honest, traveling around the world in the military, I always had a home, Opus Dei. At every military base where I was at, I could go to the center, and I was welcomed with affection, the same affection that he experienced where he lives now. So counsel from my dad was real confirmation that Opus Dei is a family where celibacy, it doesn't mean a lack of family. It is a true spiritual family. So I was a junior. It was fall of junior year when I joined Opus Dei as a numerary in high school, and I see that as a blessing. The circumstances were such that it made sense, and so then from there I went to the University of Dallas, a wonderful university. I studied English literature, and then I stayed for a master's in studying St. Thomas More, especially his final work, The Dialogue of Comfort Against Tribulation, under the direction of Jerry Wegemer, who is a wise professor there at the university, who has started a wonderful program on St. Thomas More. So I was at the University of Dallas for 5 years. In a way, I saw it as a kind of the next step after the Heights, because the Heights had given me the liberal arts. And the University of Dallas, I think, put the liberal arts to work in the most philosophical sense. And poetry, studying poetry, being a literature guy, poetry is, it's lived philosophy. It's kind of philosophy in action. So I would spend my semester studying poetry, and then in the summers getting formation from Opus Dei. I was in the Studium Generale, so studying philosophy. And the two went hand in hand. After five years at Dallas, I moved to New York, and I was a teacher at the Montfort School, the Montfort Academy in Bronxville, New York. Just north of Manhattan, just north of the Bronx. And I taught history and philosophy. Although at the same time, throughout that experience, New York was wonderful. It's a great city that really educates you in professionalism and a good human ambition. But at the same time, I still felt some kind of inkling. And I remember on my retreat in the fall of that first year, saying, "There's something more that I need. I want more." And I remember being, especially theology. Theology is, I've read it's the wisdom of wisdom. And I'm after wisdom. That is what I'm after. So, and I'm not satisfied with what I'm getting. I want more. So then I wrote a letter to the prelate, who is right over there. And I wrote a letter to the father saying, "Hey, if the work is interested, I'm available to come to Rome and potentially serve the work as a priest or come to study theology as need be." And he got back to me, saying, "Yeah, why don't you come on over?" So I've been here in Rome now for 4 years.
That is incredible.
So it's been a wonderful path, and theology it is truly sad. It's drinking deep. One image that comes to mind. I had drunk from Mount Parnassus from the muses of Greece. But it's ultimately the Mount Calvary that truly satisfies the thirst of. Anyways,
that's incredible.
So,
Well, that's an incredible story, and so you're living now at
Cavalbianca, the Roman College of the Holy Cross.
And how many other guys are there?
There's about 80 guys this year from all around the world. I'd say the majority are Spanish. Probably the next group are Nigerians, the Americans. We make up a number of them. And then the age range. I'm on the younger side. I'm 28. The oldest student at the Roman College is probably in his upper 50s. So it's a nice age range. We're divided into 4 sub centers, and we all live. It's like living in a small pueblo, a small town. In fact, Saint Josemaria, when he had Cavalbianca built, he wanted it after the typical medieval towns of Europe. with the cobblestone
Wow.
streets, and all of us have small jobs where, I'm the street sweeper.
Oh, wow.
That's my small job.
Awesome.
So on Saturdays, I'm there sweeping the streets in this cobblestone little village.
Wow. And then here at Villa Tevere, you have responsibilities here as well.
Yeah. So I come to Villa Tevere every so often. I'd say nowadays about twice a month.
Okay.
The first year I got here, I'd say probably once a week. But I come here to give tours. So Villa Tevere being the resting place of the remains of Saint Josemaria, and also the headquarters of Opus Dei and the house of the Father, it is a pilgrimage destination for many people, not only people of the work. The other week I heard a story of a random group who arrived. I forget where they were from, but they had looked up on Google Maps. They'd look up on Google Maps who is the patron saint of diabetes.
Wow.
Because one of their children had diabetes. And so they went looking, and okay, St. Josemaria, let's go there. Let's go to his tomb and pray to St. Josemaria for our child.
Wow.
And so they arrived at the door. Yeah, we have no idea what Opus Dei is. We have no idea who St. Josemaria is, besides the fact that he's the patron saint of an illness that our son suffers from. And so so you get people like that.
Yeah.
You get other people who knew St. Josemaria. People who lived here in Rome with St. Josemaria when he had died in 1975, and then have since gone back to their respective country, and they're coming back for the first time.
Wow.
I've met elderly couples who had dinners with Saint Josemaria, and they haven't been back in 50 years, and then now they see it canonized, the tomb, the tomb of Saint Josemaria underneath the altar. For them, it is a moving experience.
Yeah, yeah. And I would imagine he had dinner with lots and lots of people, even non-Catholics. And
man. Saint Josemaria, it's funny, during the Second Vatican Council, Saint Josemaria, he wasn't attending the Vatican Council, but he was receiving guests and bishops and preti from all over the world. The administration here at Villa Tevere was keeping a log of who was coming and what were their favorite meals.
Wow.
So that you might say like a guest list is a very interesting, it just shows every day, Saint Josemaria, and including the Father, he's meeting people, everyone from bishops in the Curia to friends to acquaintances. In fact, in the General Council here, almost every day, they have at least like 3 guests who come to share stories from the region, to tell them about their apostolates, different friends that they have or initiatives in their professions. So one title of Rome is Caput Mundi, the head of the world. All roads lead to Rome. So I experienced that in Villa Tevere. Rome really is
awesome.
the place where all people meet.
That's incredible. Yeah, and you came from D.C., the other, what some people would call the other,
the other Rome,
center of the world. Working at Villa Tevere, you all must have lots of encounters with the Father, Don Fernando Ocariz, and I've had the occasion to meet him a couple times with big groups. When we were here last year with the pilgrimage, and you gave us the tour. Here of Villa Tevere. What is that like to be so close with him?
One special custom that the Roman College has is on the birthday, on your birthday or on your Saint's Day, depending on what you celebrate, you get to greet the Father in a very personal way. So since the Father is normally here in the fall and my birthday is in October, I choose to celebrate my birthday as opposed to I'm Patrick, so March sometimes the Father's traveling. So anyways, so I celebrate my birthday because I get to have this very special, intimate encounter with the Father. And we come to Villa Tevere and we get to meet him for a short little bit. You can share with him a quick story or have him, one time I had him sign photos of my family, and my family really appreciated that. Probably one of the most beautiful, or one of the most impactful encounters I've had with the Father was we had a larger get-together at the Roman College, I'd say about 2 years ago. And in that get-together, I told the Father that recently my grandfather had passed away over the summer, but he had undergone a conversion.
Wow.
He had been actually a Freemason,
Wow.
and he was really opposed to my dad's conversion when he converted from Lutheranism. They were Lutheran, and he converted to Catholicism.
Wow.
And my grandfather was really antagonistic towards
Wow.
Catholicism in general, but especially towards my dad's conversion. But then in his old age, and as he needed more help, my dad was leading the charge on really taking care of my grandfather, to the point where in the last year, it was really beautiful to see a certain conversion of heart in my grandfather, to the point where he had a priest ultimately came at the invitation of my dad and gave him a final blessing.
Wow.
And spoke with him for a while. So that I mean, going from antagonism to receiving a blessing from a priest was just a wonderful conversion of heart.
Yeah.
He passed away later on that summer, and I got to tell all of this to the father before he had died, my grandfather.
Wow.
So I told all this to the father. Then my grandfather passed away a week later, and a week after that, it was my birthday.
Wow.
So I came to Villa Tevere and I got to tell the father about the whole process. And the father was very moved by the story, and he told me that he had been praying for my grandfather's conversion.
That's so beautiful.
And ultimately the story was put up in Chronica, the internal publication of the work. So that was a very wonderful moment. That the father and I had.
Welcome to the rooftop of the Pontifical University of Holy Cross in Rome. I invite you to join me this October 12th through the 16th on pilgrimage. We'll visit St. Peter's Basilica, walk in the footsteps of St. Francis in Assisi, and learn from world-class professors here at the university. Go to puhcf.org/Rome to sign up. Spots are filling up very fast, so please go there today. Ciao.
When you first learned that you were coming to Rome, what were your hopes and dreams? Any reservations? Tell me a little bit about just that feeling.
Arriving here, I think, and especially after studying theology, being as close as I am to the Pope, living Rome with the martyrs, you get to go to the catacombs, and on the feast days of the Roman martyrs, you get to go and visit their relics. Rome to me became a new something more than just like an object of wonder and beauty, but ultimately the heart of the faith. Rome is the bastion of the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And I really do feel that I've become Roman. More Roman than had I been before, with all my love of the ancient Rome. I feel like I'm more Roman because I've become more Catholic. Being more universal. Rome conquered the world, and I think the Catholic Church, has this universal evangelistic mission. To go to the four winds. So Rome has been, and the church is Rome. It is the new Rome. There's this wonderful book by G.K. Chesterton called The Resurrection of Rome, where he's standing on the seven hills of Rome and looking out, and many people might see ruins. Whereas you compare Rome to New York. New York built up. Rome builds down. It excavates. It goes into the catacombs. And why? Because it digs deep. It goes into the past. It goes into a living past that is rich, a living tradition. That ultimately the effect of Rome is to resurrect things. So Rome resurrected the Roman Empire into the Roman Catholic Church. Rome resurrects the dead into life. So Rome, and add to that, I mean, there's a bunch of beautiful So, if you want to get scriptural, the prophecies of Daniel, talking about the different kingdoms, and ultimately the passage from the Roman kingdom to the fifth kingdom, which the Son of Man will come to reign in, which is the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So I say all that because and also in the same way that Henry Adams, when he came to Rome, he realized that there's something more than just the heart of Western civilization.
Yeah.
I think I'm discovering that as well, that Rome is much more than that. It is truly the herald of the faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So, I don't know. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's yeah. There's so much richness here, in not only the Catholic faith, as you mentioned, but also like just the history of Rome. And I mean, I remember last time we were on pilgrimage, I stayed near the Pantheon, and to walk into the Pantheon, and you're like, this thing was built for, the Romans to come and worship all these different gods that they had.
Right.
And now, the Blessed Sacrament is here.
Right.
And Mass is celebrated 5, 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah.
And it's been brought into the Catholic, Church, and that's what it is now. It's been Christianized.
Oh, totally.
And it's just so wild to see like that, how, I think today at Mass, the readings were about, the Pharisees wanting to, stop the apostles from preaching. And somebody warns them, I forget who it was, but he warns them and he says, if this is not of God, then it will die on its own.
Yeah.
But if it is, you'll find yourself fighting against God.
Right.
And I was like blown away by that again. I probably read it before, 10 times, but yeah, it's just it's mind blowing to be here.
Yeah, the Rome of and the Acts of the Apostles too finishes in Rome. With Paul he's under house arrest, but the centurions he's able to preach freely. There's looking at the Roman Empire, especially in Luke and Acts. There's this very interesting. Rome isn't necessarily the evil Roman Empire of that you'll encounter in other perspectives in the New Testament, but rather like the centurions. Think of all the centurions in Luke and Acts who convert and then become an instrument in their profession of being a Roman official in spreading the gospel. To the point where Paul is being helped or protected by these Roman centurions in Rome and Rome's the place where Paul was in house arrest is here in Rome. You can visit it, where he was freely going out to spread the seeds of the faith.
Wow, I have not been there.
And St. Paul, his ultimate dream was to go to the extent of the Roman Empire, so which at that time was Spain. And there is a tradition in Spain. There's a tradition in Spain that Paul arrived there. Actually, there is a discourse from Pius XII on the 2000th anniversary of Paul's arrival to Spain.
Wow.
So the Roman Empire, when taken to the spiritual level, which is the Roman Catholic Church, it's this beautiful instrument of salvation. I think one of the best images of the church is perhaps St. Peter's Basilica and St. Peter's Square. So when you look at Michelangelo's renderings, he wanted the facade and the dome of St. Peter's to be ultimately the face of the crowned Christ. And the arms of St. Peter's are Mother Church and the mystical body of Christ reaching out and encompassing the world. So and in fact, those two halls, the two arms of St. Peter's Square, which reach out to the plaza itself, are called the halls of Charlemagne and the halls of Constantine.
Oh wow!
Which it's Mother Church reaching out to the world, and then the world itself. It's funny. It's a microcosm. You have an ecliptic shape, like the Kepler had just discovered the shapes of orbits and of the cosmos in its eclipse. You have the saints all around the sides, which
Yeah.
in biblical imagery are the stars. You have on the floor zodiacs and the 8 winds blowing. You have, there's a sundial. Actually, the obelisk
yeah.
in the center of St. Peter's is a sundial
Wow.
with the cross of Christ. There's actually a relic of the true cross crowning the obelisk. So it's like the crown. So Earth with the crown with the cross at its peak, at the center of this salvific focus that the church has reached out and is now bringing into her embrace. That is the church.
Yeah.
In its Trinitarian origin, out and then back in.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Turning a little bit towards your studies now
Sure.
at Santa Croce. What has that been like? You've been there for 4 years now. Yeah. You must know lots of the other students and the professors and have had some great encounters there. Tell me a little bit about what that education's been like.
So beginning with friends and that I have at the Santa Croce. Santa Croce, you can always, you might say, measure a community by like the quality of friendships that you can get. And I have certainly made, I think, lifelong friends at Santa Croce. In particular, I've made several friends at the North American College here, and we get together. We still get together once a week, even though he's left Santa Croce. He's now studying at another university.
Okay.
But we still get together to talk theology and to share stories. So that, I really treasure those friendships that I've made. And then you meet people from all over with all different kinds of backgrounds. And that has really enriched my own perspective on what the faith is and the universality of our faith. It's, especially, for example, in Nigeria, the faith in Nigeria is in a springtime.
It's exploding.
It is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Given the from what I hear, the persecutions that they do suffer, the Nigerian church is faithful, and you can see it in the friends that I meet. They're hopeful, and they're hungry too. They're hungry for formation.
Yeah.
And Santa Croce is certainly satisfying that hunger. So the friend, I must say that the friends I have made at Santa Croce are golden.
That's so cool. Yeah.
The professors too. I can say that I've now studied under and gotten to know, and now I'd say I'm friends with even some of the professors who are a delight to speak with and to study under. I know many of the professors are legends. We talk about them as such. They're legends because they've forged a path forward that we are following, and I really appreciate all the work. These manuals, the books that they publish, the textbooks that they've digested and given to us, are a truth synthesis of everything I've been looking for. Professors like Father Paulo Callahan, who wonderful professor of theological anthropology. And Giuseppe Tanzolini, a great professor of fundamental theology. Wow. Anyways, the list could go on of wonderful professors. Yeah. And in fact, they're always available to speak. So oftentimes, I've gone out to lunch with several of them to ask them questions and gauge them on, okay, what about these authors and what about those questions and issues and ideas, and they're very open and willing to dialogue. So it's been, I'd say Santa Croce, above all, has helped me to appreciate, we've been talking about this, but that theology is the queen of the sciences. It's not just, studying theology is a little different than just doing a catechism, than just getting catechized. Yeah. When you're doing theology, you are, you might say, engaging with wisdom itself, the highest form of wisdom, and it's a real science with real rigor. It's not, even though it's funny, and it's a broad science too. So it'll include everything from reading the Summa of St. Thomas Aquinas to reading the mystics, like St. Catherine of Siena.
appreciate
You know,
it.
reading the mystics like Saint Catherine of Siena and studying. I had to write a paper on Saint Catherine of Siena and read her letters and her dialogue. And she is a wonderful mystic because she's all about bringing the Pope back to Rome from the Avignon papacy. So I must say that Sancta Croce has helped me to appreciate the meaning of the phrase theology really is the queen of the sciences. And what does the wise discipline do? It orders everything.
Yeah.
I can now reflect upon my entire education, down from the music and poetry of the Heights Valley up to the liberal arts and philosophy of the Heights Upper School and the Studium Generale, and put it in order. And I now see its service to, I'd say, a higher wisdom. It has all helped me to engage in theology, to read scripture, to appreciate the fathers of the church, to believe in the propositions of the magisterium and its wonderful teaching and interpretation. So it is put it in order and given it a purpose, and ultimately to live the liturgy.
Yeah.
The liturgy, a good education, it seems to me, if you don't find the culmination of your education in the liturgy, then either your education is insufficient or your liturgy is insufficient. And I've come to find in the Roman liturgies that is well done liturgies here in Rome with the fullness of the availability that the church has. And then complemented with this entire education, I've just come to see the Mass is the end of wisdom. That ultimately you get to receive the incarnate Word sacramentally. And I can affirm that Sancta Croce has opened up my eyes to begin to understand this. I don't claim that Sancta Croce has finished the task, but they have given me the tools and introduced me to the paths to walk. So that I think is a real merit of this university.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, and similar to lots of others that I've talked with, really loving their education here and having their eyes open to so many different aspects of our church and of our faith and of the world and beyond. So that's amazing. Well, thank you, Patrick, so much for taking the time, and it's been a great conversation.
Yeah. And to you as well. Best of luck.
Thank you.